When it comes to the discussion of the timing of the rapture, few passages in the Bible are as important as 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction. If the day of the Lord in verse 2 is the day when the Lord comes to take his saints and bring them to glory, then the rapture cannot occur until first there is a massive apostasy from the faith. And then second, the man of lawlessness must also be revealed. Therefore, the rapture isn't imminent. There are two events that must take place first: the apostasy, and then the man of lawlessness. This argument from 2 Thessalonians 2:3 led me personally to embrace a post-tribulation rapture view for nearly 10 years of my life. If this view of 2 Thessalonians 2:3, held by those in the post-trib and pre-wrath camps, is true, it is a fatal blow to those who hold to the pre-tribulation rapture position. Andy Woods steps in on behalf of those in the pre-trib rapture community to show the reader why there is a fundamental translation error in most of our English Bibles. One that, once corrected, helps us to see why the rapture will come before the man of lawlessness is revealed and not after. So let's discuss how Dr. Woods backs up his view in The Falling Away, Spiritual Departure, or the Physical Rapture. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more books that will help you make sense of the end times, please subscribe to the channel in order to stay up to date with the most current book reviews. And also like and share this video with others on social media if you want to help them know about the work of Dr. Andy Woods. In some ways, The Falling Away really is Dr. Andy Woods at his best, and is the perfect illustration why so many Christians today read and respond positively to his teaching. The Falling Away, Spiritual Departure, or Physical Rapture is a clear, concise, easy-to-follow book. It leaves the reader of any background or education level knowing exactly how Dr. Woods made his argument and why they should also believe it. It's only 42 pages. And in it, Andy Woods makes 10 arguments that the word apostasy, or in the Greek, apostasia, forgive my brutal Greek pronunciations, I've always been the worst at that, but translating apostasia as apostasy is a poor translation depending on the context. Instead, it should be translated as it was in earlier English Bible translations, as well as the Latin, which is departure, for a physical departure from the world and not a spiritual falling away from the truth. Now, as Andy admits in this book, some of the arguments for a physical departure, followed by the revealing of the man of lawlessness, are better than others. So I'm going to give you what I think are the best arguments and the weakest of this book. The best arguments in the book are those based upon the basic lexical meaning of the word. The word means departure. You can't argue that. While the word is only used 2 times in the New Testament, and the other time points to a departure from Moses' teaching or apostasy, but an examination of the verbal form of the noun shows that this word would have been used for a physical departure, even if we don't have evidence for it in our Bibles. I need to remember that when a word is only used 2 times in the entire Bible, we clearly do not see all of the ways that that word could be used in various contexts in daily writing and usage. The second best argument is the immediate context of 2 Thessalonians 2. Verse 1 tells us that Paul is writing on our gathering together to him. So his very subject is our gathering or our departing to be with Christ. So it would make sense that he would use a word for departure in a context of physical departure and not a spiritual departure. So it would mean a depart to be with Christ and not to depart spiritually from the truth. The third best argument is the presence of the definite article before apostasy. It is not an apostasy, it is the apostasy, the departure. And one thing that we have had countless occurrences of ever since the founding of the church are apostasies. There has been one after another. But there will only be one departure for the church to be with Christ, and that is the rapture. The most unexpected argument for me in the book was how no translation used the word apostasy or falling away until the Roman Catholic Reims Bible. I had no idea that many translations from the Latin Vulgates to the earliest English Bibles all use departure in 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Now, I don't see that as a particularly strong argument on which to build one's case, but it was revealing that Woods's view in this book shouldn't be seen as something unique or something that only a pre-trib rapture proponent would come up with, because it was the standard way to take that verse, to take 2 Thessalonians 2:3 for centuries. Now, the weakest arguments in the book were first the extended context. I think a non-pre-trib rapture supporter, so someone who believes in a post-trib or pre-wrath view, would accuse Woods of practicing circular reasoning with that chapter. But if you're someone who is confident that 1 Thessalonians 4 does support the pre-trib rapture view, then that is a strong support for you. I think the same complaint could also be made about the argument that 2 Thessalonians 2 is a review course on what was already seen in 1 Thessalonians 4. It only points to the rapture if you already see 1 Thessalonians 4 as pointing to it. And I would take those as the weakest of the two arguments. And the ones not mentioned in this review do provide good support, but they aren't as strong as those covered earlier in this review. But if you are curious as to why so many people follow Dr. Woods' teaching on eschatology and Bible exposition, this book's going to help you see why. If 2 Thessalonians 2:3 has always been an enigma for you, as you just can't understand how this fits in a pre-trib world, you need to read this short book. And most of all, if you are pre-wrath or pre-trib and 2 Thessalonians 2:3 is the biggest reason why you believe the rapture cannot be imminent, you owe it to yourself to read this book. No English translation of the Bible is perfect. They all have those places where they could be improved upon. And one of those places is where English Bibles need to improve is their translation and use of apostasy in 2 Thessalonians 2:3. So let's go back to the departure of earlier English Bibles and the Latin Vulgate. And also, let's not fail to remind one another, the Lord is coming back. The day of the Lord could be upon us sooner than this world would care to admit. But before Jesus does come back in judgment and in wrath to conquer and rule, before his feet hit the top of the Mount of Olives, the departure of the church will come first, and then the revealing of the Man of Lawlessness. And all I want to say at the conclusion of a book review on the topic of the Lord's second coming is Maranatha.